Welcome back to That One Studio on the What Are You Made Of show. It's your boy C-Rock here. I'm with Kelly Foss. She's going to share what she's made of today. We're going to dive into her story. Kelly, what's happening?
So nice to see you today.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Let's get into it. What are you made of, Kelly?
Great question. So when I think of this question, I think, well, I'm made of a genuine passion for connecting people and also connecting with people. I love being in conversation and especially helping people discover what really lights them up inside. I always tell all my friends and my family, I always say, oh, that is my purpose in life, is to connect with others and help them see the light. And when I say that, I mean, see more clearly the things that really make them happy and where they should be spending their time. And I do this by helping people simplify their lives. So I help people remove the excess in their lives so they can see their lives more clearly.
This is huge. I mean, like really huge, because we are in a mode now where we have so many things coming at us. And I was just, look, I'm very kind of transparent. You know, I tell stories about what happens in my household. And I was just talking to my wife the other day, and I'm like, we have these 2 storage units underneath our house, these rooms. And I was needing to get to the air conditioning unit, the heater, the thing where the filter is. I was going to change the filter. I couldn't get to it. I'm like, babe, we got to get rid of some stuff. She's like, I do. I'm like, we got to get rid of more. And I have this thing where, like, the more stuff you have, physical material things, the less freedom you have.
Exactly.
And so when you clear that out, there's some magic thing that happens. And you feel bigger. And
you feel bigger.
Free.
There's more space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love this. This is a big deal. This is actually a performance vertical, really, for better performance in life, is to clear out.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people, and I love that you just shared that story, because anytime I tell people that I run a podcast on minimalism, it's really about living a simpler, more intentional life. And who wouldn't want to live a simpler, more intentional life? That's what I always say. But everyone has a story to share. And it usually starts with the physical things. You know, I have too much stuff and I don't know where to start. And that is what I help with on the podcast. I answer all those questions. But you're right. The more things that we have, the less space we have, but then also it's the more things we have to think about. And I think an area of excess that a lot of people forget about is there is mental clutter, there's emotional clutter, there's digital clutter, relational clutter, calendar clutter. There's all these areas of excess that we have in our lives because, you know, our parents especially, were told that the more you have, the more successful you are. But now, as you know, many of us are rejecting all of the stuff and we want less and we want to simplify. And so that's where we come in and we help. So,
well, most people can just start in their closet and their drawers, not their drawers that they're wearing, but their drawers where they store their clothes.
Yeah,
maybe both, but yeah, right away, like I know when I go into my closet and I don't wear these shoes, these, I don't wear this shirt, these pants ever. They're just hanging there. I feel like I'm going to need them one time. I'm going to like have an event that I'm going to need them, and that event never comes. So I just take the stuff, I put it in bags, and then I donate it. And man,
so you do.
It's
wow.
so nice to have empty hangers.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Well, good for you for having the courage to do that. The thing is, a lot of people, they cling to their things, right? And so and there's a few reasons why. Number one is the item's very expensive. And so it's like, oh, I can't let go of this. I spent so much money on it. The second reason is usually, well, my mom or my sister gave it to me, so there's some sentimental attachment to it. And so people hold on to the items. Or it's what if? They're like, oh, I might wear it one day, or I might use it or need it for that one event. But you may not as well. And it might be sitting in your closet and you're looking at it every day. You know, and that is physical space, but it's also mental space that it's taking up as well.
When you look at it's the attention. You're using attention units. Like if you can measure attention in units, we only have so many to use at any one moment in any day.
Yeah.
You're actually using attention units, wasting them. Yeah.
Very well said. Yeah. I mean, and when it comes to the topics that we discuss, it's everything. It's like how to simplify all areas of your life. You know, it's not just the physical things. It's how to better manage the distractions in your everyday so that you can refocus your attention that matters most to you. I think a lot of the time we're going a certain direction because we have all of this stuff in our homes, all of this excess in our minds. And once we kind of start clearing that out, and let's just say we're at a point where we've decluttered it all, minimalism is really a challenge to really face yourself. You know, if you're alone in an empty room, you have to hear yourself. And for me, my personal story, I started decluttering the physical things. And then I started realizing, oh, I also have to work on myself mentally as well. There's some ideas that I still tell myself that are no longer serving me. And that was hard. But once you get to the other side, it's so rewarding. Like I don't seem come across as a shy person, but I was shy majority of my life. I was scared to speak up. I was afraid to put up my hand. And now I've become the complete opposite because I've removed all those layers and I'm able to fully and finally be myself, which is great.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, this is I'm glad we're having this conversation today because, I use these podcasts to learn myself, right? And it's or remind myself. And this is a great reminder to go back through even my phone. I'll hold my phone up for a minute because this thing could be a problem too. But that first page, look at all the apps on that first page. So that when we're just talking about this, I'm just thinking, well, you know what? I'm going to clear all these out and put them on a separate thing that I don't have to look at every day. And if I need it, I'll go find it. But I'm going to use the ones that I know I need every single day and I'm going to clear this out. So that's one thing.
Look at my screen.
There you go. Yeah.
What I do is I put all of the individual apps into one folder at the bottom of my phone. That way, when I open up my phone, I'm not distracted by all of these apps, but then all of these red notifications that are telling you this is urgent when it's not, right?
Yeah.
So these are just some of the little things that we can do in our everyday to simplify our lives. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I practiced this the other day too. I lost this wedding ring. I had 22 years. I'd never lost it once. Okay. And I was like, I know I put it in the same place every time and it was gone. And I'm like, this is crazy. Somebody had to have moved it. I'm talking to my kids. Like, where'd it go? Did it fall in one of these drawers? Because I put it on my dresser. And then I came to grips. I was just like, okay, it was a piece of material. And even the worst part about it was I had it for 22 years and I never lost it once. But I came to grips with it. I'm like, all right, if it's gone, it's gone. It is what it is. Let's move on. And I just did it. When I came to grips with it, I put this baseball glove on that I was having to catch. My daughter plays travel softball. We were having a catch.
Oh, wow.
And I felt something in the glove. I'm like, man, something's in here. And I went and shook it and the ring came out. And I was like, oh, great. So I got it back. But I learned a lesson to, when you deal with something, this is pretty sentimental, I would say. That, you know what? It's a material thing. Move on. You can replace it. And it is what it is.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to say, I'm glad that you got to a point where you didn't feel like you lost like a big part of you and you remember that it is a possession at the end of the day. It's really that memory of that item that you really cared about. And wow, that's hard. But what I'm going to say is that once you start letting go of some of the items in your home, it becomes easier to let go of other things. I think a lot of the time we attach our identity to our things and that can be dangerous. Right. So when we peel those things or we let go, we donate, we sell those items, we're like, oh my goodness, we're losing a part of myself. But it's like, no, you are you outside of all of those possessions. Right.
Yeah,
and that's also why I personally have less stuff because I don't want to worry about my stuff. The more stuff you have, the more you have to think about, the more you have to worry about. So I have this way of thinking that is keep what you use and use what you keep. So this lifestyle is not about depriving yourself. It is about being intentional about the things that you own and, again, keeping the things that you actually use and letting go of the rest.
Yeah. Love it. Love this conversation, man. Well, all right. Well, so how did you get started in this in the first place?
Yeah. So I have an interesting, background. So I used to be a model. I worked in Hong Kong and Tokyo and lived in LA for a bit. And I had all these interesting experiences and I was connecting with all these interesting people doing various things in various disciplines. And I was really inspired by these conversations. They're very laid back conversations. So at one point, I thought I wanted to be a journalist to expose these conversations to other people who didn't have access to connecting with these individuals. And then after that, I ended up going into the corporate world because I needed to make money and build my career. And in my career, as much as I did enjoy the career, it wasn't a passion of mine. The passion of mine was always connecting with people and also writing and producing. So finally in 2018, I left the corporate world and I started this podcast with my best friend, Lauren. So that was 7 years ago now. And we were both in career transitions. And how minimalism came about is my co-host had always lived simply. And one day I came to her house and it looked like she had just moved in, but she had been living there for almost a decade. And I just loved the way she lived. And so I started by decluttering my closet. And then I started decluttering every area of my home. And I started remembering, like, wow, these are all learned behaviors from my childhood. My parents love their stuff. My co host parents love their stuff. And we kind of rejected it. So, magnets on the fridge, carpets around, under the sink, around the toilet, like all these extra things that I realized I don't need these things. So I started decluttering. And then once my space was kind of empty of all those items, I started working mentally. And I was also really engaged in the podcast world. I ran a personal development speaker series at Shopify in Toronto. It was where a speaker came, talked about their highs and lows in their career, and a lot of podcasters were speaking. And I was like, maybe that's my outlet. Maybe that's a way that I can connect with interesting people and share their stories. And specifically, minimalism was a passion of mine at the time and continues to be. And I was told by a wise man in the past, a mentor figure of mine, who said, choose one thing and dive deep into that topic. And when I found minimalism, I was like, this is it. I love it. How to simplify all areas of your life. As we said before, it's not just about, the physical and the mental stuff. It's how to manage distractions, how to make better decisions in our world of overwhelming choice, how to avoid burnout. There's so many things that we can talk about. So, and at the end of the day, it's the whole purpose of this is so that we can all spend our time more wisely, spend our time with the people and on the experiences and things that matter most to us.
Yeah. And the journey that you've been on too. I mean, what was it like? What did you see in international? And then of course, LA's got its own vibe. And like,
Yes.
what are some of the experiences that you had going to those places?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty amazing. I always say that, modeling overseas is a great gateway to see the world and meet interesting people. And for me, it was exactly that. I got to see a lot of different cities, different cultures, see how other different people live. And that, I think, that was the most helpful. Hearing from people who are living all different types of lifestyles. Sometimes when we're stuck in our local community and in our little bubbles, we get accustomed to a certain way of living. I'm in Toronto, Canada. Here, it's you got to live to work. If you're walking on the street in the middle of the day, what are you doing? Why are you not working? And then I go to LA and people are on the streets all the time because they're working at all different hours. And I realize, wow, I'm in the corporate world at one point after, and I'm like, wow, I'm designing my lifestyle around my work schedule. And my goal was to design a life, I design my work, around my lifestyle, having that power is freedom, having more freedom. I was looking for more freedom and I was looking for the opportunity to connect with people again and share their stories. Because at the end of the day, I asked myself, I'm like, what lights me up? It's connecting with people and sharing stories and traveling and all these things. And I couldn't see clearly when I was in a job that I didn't love and I had all this excess stuff in my home that was keeping me from doing these things. And now that I live lighter, and I also am very conscious about the things that I buy so that when I travel, I'm not worried about losing them,
Yeah.
So, I always say, if you're going to buy something expensive, like you also have to think about the costs that come with taking care of the item and then also having to worry about the item. So there's all these perks that come with living with less. But that being said, you can be a multimillionaire or even billionaire and be a minimalist.
Yeah.
It's all about just living intentionally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the career of modeling, like, did you decide that it wasn't for you after a while or?
Yeah. So I had been modeling since I was 16 years old, and I ended up exiting the industry in 2020 during COVID. First of all, there wasn't a lot of work. And I was reading a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown, who I've had on the podcast twice now. And he said that we should really focus on the things that are most meaningful to us and let go of the rest. And I, at the time, was juggling multiple projects. And I said, okay, what should I let go of? Because I had to let go of something or I would have been burnt out. And so I was like, okay, modeling is slow right now, so I'm going to let go of that. And so I haven't been doing that for the past 5 years. However, a few jobs have come my way recently, so it seems like I'm back in it. But yeah, if the space comes back again, I'll do it again. But I think a lot of people, they're like, oh, I can't do it all. It's like, well, what is of lesser importance? And also, like, I always say, I think this is really helpful for people. some people, they're working these jobs to make this certain income. But I think it's really important to ask yourself, what is your number? What is the number that actually makes you happy? Because you might need to only make half of what you're making so that you have more time for family and friends and other things that are more important to you. Sometimes we get caught in this cycle of making all this money, but it's like, but what about your time? The minimalist, his name is Joshua Fields Milburn, and he says that his wealth is not defined by the number in his bank account, but by the spaciousness in his calendar. And I thought that that was so well said. I was like, wow, he's a true minimalist. He doesn't need to, buy a boat or go on a yacht or anything like that. Like, that's not important to him. So, but I mean, it's different for everybody. But I just love the way he defined it, that he's like, hey, this was the target that I wanted to make. And now I'm living the lifestyle that's true to me. Not everyone needs to make hundreds of thousands of dollars to live a very happy life, right? So
yeah, and what we have to, no matter what we decide upon, right, we have to be willing to deal with what comes from it, right? Because there's going to be times like if you set yourself at a certain number, inflation kicks in, health insurance goes up, right? And just, if you're not constantly growing a little bit, you're not going to be able to keep up with what I call gravity, which is the economies, which is the inflation, all these different things. So, but you if you are a minimalist, you definitely are kind of hedged against it because you don't need much, which is a good thing, So, and then what are the downsides? Did you ever run into any of the wild stories that we hear from acting and modeling and all that? Like,
sometimes you see the downsides. I mean, what the biggest downside for me was, if you are trying out for something, you get rejected a lot. So I used to say that rejection is my middle name. And at the time, I saw that as a negative, but over time, I've seen it as a positive, because whenever I get a no, it's easier for me to take now. I would say something that continues to be a negative is that, in many ways, it's all about how you look for a certain client, but you have to remember that every client wants something different. And so, I think it's a little bit of a pressure to always look your best kind of thing. And I think as a model, you continually feel that. But that's something that I've been able to let go, even just specifically with this lifestyle. Been able to let go of all of these ideas of who I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to look like. And honestly, simplifying your life, letting go of all that clutter helps you just be yourself more. And I would say that is the biggest reward that I've gained by living with less.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for sharing that. I think, the most successful models out there, this is like this in business as well, are those that really identify who they are, right? And how you look on the outside based on who you are, not what other people want. And they found this really specific lane that makes them unique. And this is where a brand called That One I created, becoming that one. And those that have done that and not caring about like trying to please all these different people to get a job or whatever, but they just leaned into it, they became so rare and attractive and wanted.
Agreed.
And by the way, it might not even be in the modeling. Maybe it's like, okay, I was in a modeling space and I was very unique because I just leaned into my own unique style. And then you found out that it wasn't the modeling thing, but it took into a different direction because you stayed true to yourself and you were able to find what that real thing is, just like you did with the podcast. So while we're up against the clock here, I want to make sure I touch on this. What's the vision from here? Like, if you could have it your way and it worked out perfectly, what does that look like?
Yeah. So there's a new story. So my co-host of my podcast, she's pursuing a career of helping people declutter their closets. And so I'm going to be the main host, or continue to be the main host of the podcast. She's going to be on periodically, but I have this new vision where I also have listeners of the podcast come on and share their stories, because I find that the everyday story can help other listeners. So I have this new series, which is really exciting. And then of course, I'm continuing to interview best-selling authors in the personal development space, which is so much fun. And my vision is to continue to do this long term. I absolutely love it. We are growing every single day. I'm very grateful for our listenership. And so my vision is to be able to continue to do this and to be able to continue to grow every day and to get bigger and better guests.
Yeah. All right. So where can people go deeper with you? Where do you want to send them?
Yeah. So you can check out the podcast at Millennial Minimalists, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Millennial Minimalists.
That's it. Kelly Foss, folks, sharing what she's made of. Kelly, thank you so much for your story and your participation today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.